What we can see now is the Panda Express. That's the plane which has brought the two pandas all the way from Chengdu in China.
I've encountered Colin more times than I can recall. His voice has been a constant and an authoritative presence on BBC Radio for the best part of 40 years. I think he's been Scotland correspondent on no fewer than 3 occasions, but Colin has reported all over the world. You know, in Africa, the time he spent there, he reported on the end of apartheid, the Ethiopian famine. I think it's fair to say he's been every step of the way in Scotland's political journey over these 4 decades, reported on some dreadful tragedies here, Lockerbie for example. So he's been a constant presence and he's going to be really, really missed.
There was heavy machine gun and rocket fire in Addis Ababa before the arms dump blew up. The BBC's Colin Blane heard the first explosion.
There's a huge fire now burning. It looks as if an ammunition dump has gone up. That great bang came from the middle of a ball of fire. The sky is full of smoke, orange smoke. We can see trees picked out in the night sky.
Among the casualties were the Viz News camera crew which shot these pictures last week. This morning they were working with BBC correspondents Michael Burke and Colin Blane, who were badly shaken by one of the explosions. It killed John Matai, the Viz News sound recordist. Cameraman Mohammed Amin was badly injured. He's pictured here receiving an award for his coverage of the Ethiopian famine in 1984.
A short while ago, I spoke to Colin Blane, one of the BBC's correspondents who was at the ammunition dump as it exploded. I asked him what he saw.
We just heard a huge roar and then turned away to try and escape from the falling debris. Michael Burke and I managed to get behind a wall, but when we looked back, Mohammed Amin and John Matai were lying down.
To understand what's happening in Africa, we should try to see each crisis separately, not just as part of some inexplicable, insoluble calamity.
Abari from Kenya, Colin, one of your old haunts. I remember you telling me all about it when we were in Brussels. Staying in foxholes with Eritrean rebels and working with some of the legends of African journalism. And I'd like now to raise a tusker to you, to your very happy retirement. Kwaheri.
And they're disappearing from view. We'll get them back in a few minutes.
Free Nelson Mandela.
From today, South Africa will never be the same again. He's poised with his provincial vote, which is about to drop into the ballot box. There it goes. That broad smile. Nelson Mandela has cast his vote in a democratic South Africa.
Free, free, free Nelson Mandela.
Nelson Mandela was in Glasgow to say thank you for years of support. This was the first city in the world to honour him as a free man while he was in prison. Outside, thousands waited in the rain to see Nelson Mandela, and he didn't disappoint them. Colin Blane, BBC News, Glasgow.
Oh yes, the famous radio car. Scene of many triumphs for you, Colin. I've worked with you for more than 20 years, and it's been one of the greatest privileges of my life. You've been a fantastic colleague and a really good friend, and I've learnt more from you than honestly anyone I can think of.
When are we expecting to see them?
Well, I think it'll be a few minutes before they actually get round.
As a reporter, when I was sent out to cover the dispute in March of 1984, I had no idea that I'd still be following it a year later. After 12 months of late nights and early mornings, negotiations, confrontations, divided families and divided communities.
There's a ruck of police and pickets in the middle of the road now. It happened after the pickets tried to get through the fence at the bottom. Police came running through towards them.
Police came running down the road to join the pickets. Passions ran high. Journalists were manhandled. I remember being grabbed in the tea room and thrown down the stairs.
This is it, isn't it? The end of an era. Thinking back days in the Edinburgh newsroom, playing rounders, throwing Regal's copy in the bin. Would you be quiet, please? I'm trying to do something.
I just want to say this is just...
Anyway, as I was saying, photographs, yours, and then there was Glasgow, and yours would be the first. You can't call people love these days. You're the journalist we've all aspired to be, and it's been wonderful working with you, and it's been great having you and Katie Flora as friends, and may it continue.
Goodbye. Terribly sorry about that. I just thought, Colin, I'd ring the news channel just for old time's sake, and on your behalf as well, to tell him what I thought of them snowing in December. Anyway, you were always fantastic to work with, Colin. One of the best, peerless beyond compared to anybody in journalism in Scotland. Fantastic to work with you. Missed you all the time. I've not been there in Glasgow with you. I hope in your retirement you find something really interesting to do in your spare time. But from me and Sally, all the best.
All the best.
Do we know if they understand English, and have they been played any bagpipe music? It's quite frightening, bagpipes, isn't it, if you've come all the way from China and you're a panda?
Well, you're right. Bagpipes were, of course, traditionally an instrument of war.
The World Tonight. Good evening. Tonight's headlines. An American jumbo jet has crashed into the town of Lockerbie in Dumfriesshire. Our correspondent, Colin Blaine, is in Lockerbie. He's just sent this report describing the scene.
I'm in the centre of Lockerbie, which is all but cut off because of a huge traffic jam, caused because the accident happened so close to the main A74 road. There's a smell of aviation fuel in the air. There are various accounts of what happened. Some speak of a blaze of flame in the sky. Most people certainly heard a loud bang. Many houses have been damaged, perhaps 30 or 40, by bits of debris falling from the plane. People here are stunned. They don't seem to be able to take in the size of the accident which has happened.
This part of Lockerbie was devastated by the disaster. I remember there was a deep trench here, the smell, the stench of aviation fuel, the heat, and a couple of houses entirely vaporised. And down here, the main road, the A74 between Scotland and England, was absolutely blocked by a mound of earth. I remember standing here, just being unable to take in what had happened.
80 years on, some people have suggested this beautiful place should have a full-time community once again. But that's not a view shared by someone who knows just how difficult that could be.
This section of the bridge walk is strictly for thrill seekers, because when the catwalk's completed, visitors will be able to climb right up on top of the bridge to finish their Forth Bridge experience, 100 feet above where we are now.
I remember, in fact, going to Chengdu Zoo many years ago, more than 20 years ago. I was in Chengdu, that my plane had landed there unexpectedly. Shanghai is the engine which drives the rest of China's economy. And there are real worries here about the impact of the Asian financial crisis. But for all the difficulties, most foreign investors can't afford to turn away. The lure of China's vast markets is still too strong for that. But if the swollen waters of the Yangtze River break through near a town or city, what's now an emergency could become a disaster. I was in Chengdu for 2 or 3 days with nothing else to do, and I hired a bicycle and cycled out to visit the pandas. Some European leaders started to work towards cooperation rather than conflict. And so began the process of integration, which some believe will lead to a federal continent, to a United States of Europe.
Colin Blaine, BBC News, Ljubljana.
Security here is very tight indeed. Lipizzaner horses are to the Austrians what apple pie is to the Americans.
At the European Parliament in Strasbourg.
Volendam, Stockholm. Gothenburg. Nice. Depleted uranium shells. Nice. Feira in Portugal. Brussels.
Hi Colin, all the best to you, and I know you're going to miss some of the delights of Brussels. Et voila. Enjoy loads of that. Have a good time.
But we're still waiting to see them come off, and I'm sure when they do, we'll come back to you and let you know all about it.
I have to say that working with Colin, I learnt a huge amount, even although when I became Scotland correspondent, I should have been fairly experienced. But Colin had so much more experience. He taught me how to write. He had a fantastic nose for a story. And Colin, you're going to be a huge miss to BBC audiences in Britain and around the world. And whatever you and Katie do, I hope you have a fantastic life, and I wish you the very best.
Well, where's the panda, Colin?
I can see it moving. It's moving just inside the crate.
Oh, the halcyon days of Murrayfirth Radio, where we partied, we broadcast, we reunited pets with their owners, even found new mothers for orphaned lambs.
The information desk.
Katie, of course, was always the professional, a skilled producer. It didn't really matter what condition she was in, she could deliver the goods. She even went on to help win the station a Sony Award, of course. In spite of all the madness, she always kept a motherly eye on us, took us in, fed us, even clothed us at times. And of course, it's that kindness that we all know that continues to shine through with Katie. She'll hate me for saying that. But I have done her some favours, including introducing her to one Colin Blane, the guy that she's always admired for being able to pack so much into just 35 seconds. Well, I hope the retirement is as well crafted, guys. And if you want to hold on to some of your oldest friends, then come on, invest in that chalet in the Alps.
Colin, when I think of the BBC without you, it gives me, to be honest, something of a sense of panic, because I always felt that you were the rock and the big heart at the centre of our operation. The rock because you were rock solid editorially. No matter how big the story that was breaking around us, you were always the one who would be calm, who would be collected, who would be able to distill that story, no matter how complex, into the most beautiful prose, which we all enjoyed so much for so many years. But you were also incredibly big-hearted. You still are. You had such a concern for us as a team. You looked after everyone, and I think that speaks a lot to your character as well. The very best of luck to you and to Katie Flora in the future.
Hi Colin and Katie. Well, as you know, I left the BBC behind just as you're about to do now. I just want to wish you all the best, good luck, have exciting adventures ahead. And you know, Colin will always have that night under the stars in St Kilda. Have a great time. It's been marvellous working with two broadcasting legends. See you!
I first met Colin in 1981 or possibly early 1982 when he came down to Edinburgh because he took my job. He was looking for somewhere to stay, so I sold him my house as well. I offered him the wife and children, but he claimed he already had some of them, so he didn't want to take me up on my offer. Colin, I'll miss you and your wisdom and your, as I say, generosity when you've gone from here. I will keep in touch with you though. Good luck.
The two giant pandas, Sunshine and Sweetie, have arrived at Edinburgh Zoo. We've had our first sight of them. They're on their way to the zoo any time now.
Now a word about one of our own. Colin Blane has been reporting for the BBC on East Africa, on Europe, and most notably on Scotland for 35 years. Well, today Colin received an honorary doctorate at the University of Glasgow. Here's part of what he said afterwards.
I'm just so chuffed. This is the university where I started out nearly 40 years ago. And it's great. I just feel proud that they've decided to recognise all those stories over all those years. It's not something I expected. I'm very, very pleased and proud.
There are very few in the world like you, Colin Blane. Modest, clever, full of energy and enthusiasm, and such a master of the English language. The way that you can craft and cleanly and simply write a script is something that one day I can only hope to master. You have been such an inspiration to me and to so many other young journalists. You really deserve your retirement with Katie Flora. I wish you both all the best. Cycle those hills for me. Lots of love.
Colin, I'm really going to miss tearing around the country and on occasion standing outside Edinburgh Zoo with you, covering often very amusing stories and occasionally pretty awful stories as well. You have been a great colleague and friend these past few years. I've learned so much from you, and I've also had so much fun along the way. I'm really going to miss you, and Katie, and I really hope you both enjoy your retirement.
I wanted simply to pay tribute to you both as friends. Your loyalty, your honesty, integrity, your straightforwardness, but above all your sense of fun and adventure have been the bedrock not just of your professional career but also of your companionship and your friendship. It's a friendship we value above all your considerable achievements at the BBC. And as we celebrate your departure and your success, we'll raise a glass to the beauty of the days gone by and to the promise of those still to come. Sláinte.
Shangri-La is a haven of serenity everyone wants to believe in. A valley hidden among the high peaks.
But they say this is a gateway to Shangri-La. On the one side, a hidden mountain kingdom. On the other, the world beyond. You're supposed to stay forever young here.
May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind always be at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face and rains fall soft upon your fields.